Check.
I wish I could say something that was classy and inspirational, but that just wouldn't be our style.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it.
SportsTownChicago.com. Lombard, part of the Be On Air network and available on the TuneIn app.
Hell yeah.
Broadcast home for your Windy City Bulls and the Chicago Dogs. We're in a league of our own. Now, here's your SportsTownChicago.com scoreboard update.
At 2 p.m., I'm Brett Cagle with your SportsTownChicago.com update, powered by the Illinois Media School. If interested in a career in media, go to beonair.com. The Chicago Bears started the season with a win Sunday afternoon against the Titans. The defense was responsible for 2 touchdowns that helped lead the comeback victory. Number 1 pick Caleb Williams got his first start under his belt, going 14 of 29 with 95 passing yards. The Cubs play the league-leading Los Angeles Yamamoto. Both pitchers have ERAs under 3 in what should be a pitching duel starting at 9:10 Central Time. On Monday Night Football, the 49ers dismantled the Jets without star running back Christian McCaffrey. Backup Jordan Mason stepped up in McCaffrey's absence, rushing for 147 yards and a touchdown. The final score was 32-19 as Aaron Rodgers saw his first action back in a year. The Chicago White Sox continue their historically bad season tonight against the Guardians. Ben Lively will take the mound for Cleveland, who are leading the AL Central. Jordan Cannon is 3-9 on the season with a 4.53 ERA and starts for Chicago tonight. The PGA Tour is back this week with the Procore Championship from Napa, California. Last year's winner was Sahith Theegala. This has been your SportsTownChicago.com update, brought to you by the Illinois Media School. If interested in a career in media, go to beonair.com.
Holy crap, I don't know who the hell we think we are when we do something like that.
What's up, fight fans? We are live here on the Combat Connection. I'm your host, Brett Cagle, SportsTownChicago.com, YouTube, and Twitch. I just got back from San Diego for Bellator Champion Series. Usman Nurmagomedov remains undefeated. The Nurmagomedov family remains undefeated in what was a really tactical battle with Alexander Shabliy. Shabliy went in there, and I asked him at the pre-fight media, does he think he can knock Usman out? I thought that was his path to victory. He had to take Usman out of there if he wanted to get the lightweight title. He said that he saw blind spots in Nurmagomedov's striking and that he thought that he could knock him out. That is not what happened. Usman Nurmagomedov proved that he is one of the most talented fighters we have ever seen in the sport of mixed martial arts. His distance control is second to none. I have never seen someone who is a lifelong grappler manage distance against such great strikers as well as Usman Nurmagomedov does. If you look at that entire clan of Dagestani fighters that fight out of the American Kickboxing Academy, whether it was Mamedov, whether it's Islam Makhachev, who's the champion now, Khabib Nurmagomedov, the Hall of Famer, and this guy's cousin, he is a better striker right now at 26 years of age than any of those fighters have been in their career. He is just going to be so dominant, in my opinion. It's a pleasure to watch him perform and to be able to cover his fights and be there backstage. I took a photo that I posted on my Twitter, Brett_Cagle. You can find it was him and his brother Umar, who fights in the UFC, who just beat Corey Sandhagen. They were backstage with the belt after Usman's title win, and they were kind of embracing each other, and it was quite a moment back there. You could feel it within the Nurmagomedov family. It was like a sigh of relief. They knew how good Shabliy was and what a threat that he was to the family legacy, and it really felt like Usman put that suspension after the Brent Primus win behind him. He put the credible opponent in Alexander Shabliy behind him, and really there was a sigh of relief and a good feeling between the entire Nurmagomedov family backstage. It was quite something to see. Let's listen to Usman and Khabib talk about this victory on Saturday night in San Diego, California. Khabib will be first here on this clip. You'll listen to him kind of shine up his cousin Usman, and then Usman will come in and give his thoughts about Alexander Shabliy. Jimmy Smith on the mic here asking the questions.
To 45, while judges Michael Bell and Chris Lieben both see it the same, 49, 46, I'll have it for the winner by unanimous decision. And still, Bellator lightweight world champion, Usman Nurmagomedov.
Almost choking out the fellow cornerman, man. How you feeling about this victory?
Guys, first of all, I want to say thank you for Shabli. He is a very, very tough opponent. He trained with us before like 6-7 years ago, and we know he is a very tough opponent, and that's why it was very, very important fight for us. Because, you know, sometimes like when you grow, when you're 26 and you fight with somebody who is 32, they both on prime, but 32 is much better than 26. And if you beat him, you jump on the different level. And I think Usman is right now one of the best lightweight in the world. You know, I was before, now is our brother Islam, and Usman is next. And you know, this is dynasty. I think many years people gonna talk and they don't even understand why. Because we work so hard and we believe to Allah and we believe ourselves.
Speaking of that, Usman, I gotta ask you, how did it feel a year off from the cage? How was your timing? How did everything feel coming back?
First of all, I want to say Alhamdulillah for everything. I'm not believe, to be honest, this guy, he's such a tough. Alexander Shapley is, I think, one of the best lightweight right now in the world. It was very tough fight for me. He's a very tough guy. All respect to him, to his team. Thank you so much, Alexander. And you know, I'm happy now.
That was lightweight Bellator champion Usman Nurmagomedov, who improved to 18-0 after the win against fellow countryman Russian Alexander Shabli, who really ran through one side of the Bellator lightweight Grand Prix. Was able to get rid of Brent Primus, defeated Patricky Pitbull. This is a guy who earned his spot, had not lost since 2016. And, you know, some people thought there was sharp money on Shabli, especially if he could keep this fight standing. The fight remains standing for a majority of the contest. Of the 25 minutes, I would have to say about 17 to 18 were done on the feet. It was really a surprising victory in terms of the technical kickboxing from Usman. He keeps improving and continues to look better with every performance. As I said, it is a pleasure to watch him perform live. The distance control, as I mentioned before, I believe currently is the best in the world. You go back and you have to look at John Jones, who manages distance as well as anybody that there is. That reminds me a lot of what Usman Nurmagomedov brings to the table here. You know, leg kicks, length, and then the ability to do whatever he wants on the ground. This guy's the complete package. It was a pleasure watching him on Saturday night. But we've got some exciting news here on the Combat Connection. We've got Zan Bando coming on next segment. We're going to break down the Sphere card that's coming up this weekend. How could we not talk about UFC Noche from the Sphere? One of the biggest cards maybe in UFC history, according to Dana White. It's certainly going to be a spectacle. I'm very interested to hear what sporting news contributor Zan Bando has. We've had him here on the program multiple times. It's always a pleasure to have him on. When we get back from break here, we will break down UFC Noche. We're going to have a little bit of a countdown preview sound for it from the countdown show that the UFC put up on YouTube. But as far as Bellator is concerned, I'd like to break down the rest of the Bellator card here in quick order. Aaron Jeffrey picked up a very impressive win over Douglas Lima. Lima was coming back, the former Bellator welterweight champion, moving up to 185 pounds and taking a year off after the purchase by the PFL. Lima was one of those contracts like Gegard Mousasi. You didn't know if it was going to get picked up or not. Well, Aaron Jeffrey came in there against the 36-year-old former champion, and he showed a new wrinkle in his game with the grappling. I really liked what Aaron Jeffrey was able to do, taking this fight to the ground for large portions. But, Lima, to me, looks a little bit over the hill. He looks like someone whose timing wasn't quite there after a year gone. And against these guys who are out grappling him, the younger, more athletic, stronger fighters, he's going to really have a problem. If he can go against maybe some aging veterans, I wouldn't mind seeing him and Gegard fight. Get some guys in there that are their own age. These young guys like Aaron Jeffrey, like Austin Vanderford, he's not really in the picture right now, but these young guys who are grapplers are going to take these old guys prospect who are maybe more war-torn like Douglas Lima. Lima had already been through 2 fights with Michael Venom Page. He'd been through wars with Koreskov in the past for the belt. So, he's somebody who has been there and done that. And a lot of people thought his experience would help him in this fight, but it was Aaron Jeffrey, who was the longer, more athletic, stronger, quicker, faster fighter, and was able to take him down repeatedly over 3 rounds. Now, Lima did cause a cut on Jeffrey in the first round that looked like it was going to be a problem, but Jeffrey showed his toughness, was able to fight through it, and the Canadian put on a standout performance, maybe the best of his career. Now, we had Lorenz Larkin stake his claim for a welterweight title shot against Ramazan Kurmagomedov. Lorenz Larkin knocked out Levon Chokely in one of the craziest back-and-forth one-round fights that I've ever witnessed live. Chokely comes out there like an absolute aggressive crazy man, knocks Lorenz Larkin on the ground. Lorenz gets back up, stops him with a left hook, then hits him with a right hand, puts him on the ground, and finishes him with ground and pound. It was just a tidal wave of a fight. It looked like Chokely was going to finish him early and be the next best thing on the scene. And then right when you thought that Larkin was out of it, the veteran pulled out the left hook, stopped him in his tracks, then hit him with the right hand, put him down. It was tremendous what Lorenz Larkin was able to do. And at 38 years old, making a push for championship gold once again, it is quite historic. Now, the champion of the division right now, Ramazan Kurmagomedov, is a very talented fighter. I don't see Lorenz Larkin. I mean, that's a tough fight. I can say I don't see Lorenz Larkin beating him, but he just beat undefeated Russian Murad Berkamov. And before that, he was on an 8 of 9 fight winning streak with his only loss to Andrei Koreskov in Japan in a Bellator versus Ryzen fight that had a different set of rules, including kicks to the head of a grounded opponent that we had not seen Lorenz fight in before. So now on a 9 of 10 fight winning streak here, Lorenz Larkin stakes his claim for championship gold once again. And we'll see if he can get the welterweight title at 39 years of age. That's what we had for Bellator. When we get back, we're going to talk about UFC Noche from the Sphere. I'm going to have on Sporting News contributor Zan Bando. We're going to break down the card next.
This is your home for sports.
This is the best fans in the world.
No better team. SportsTownChicago.com.
Are you ready for this? Valley View Automotive has all of the hottest SUVs you've been looking for. Enjoy a test drive and the opportunity to drive one of these powerful vehicles off the lot for half the price. Yes, half the price. Now's the time to get yourself to Valley View by car, on foot, or even by air to take advantage of this outrageous sale. You better get here quickly, because this promotion is only going on for 24 hours, and the automobiles are leaving the lot faster than you can say four-wheel drive. Valley View Automotive, a dealership you can depend on.
Hey, I'm Andy Griggs, asking you to help prevent domestic violence. Domestic violence isn't a woman's issue. It hurts all of us. Women are injured and killed every day by their husbands and boyfriends. So It's time for men to take action right now to teach boys that violence against women is wrong, to help prevent abuse before it starts. Call the Family Violence Prevention Fund at 1-800-END-ABUSE to get a free Take Action kit containing tips on what to say to boys. That's 1-800-END-ABUSE. Teach early.
Indeed is the #1 job search user with over 250 million monthly users. Indeed's priority is to help everyone in the job searching process to find a job by uploading 10 new job opportunities every 10 seconds worldwide. With Indeed, you have free access to job searches, resume uploads, and company researches. There are over 10,000 employees at Indeed that pursue to help people find the job they are looking for. They connect with millions of people to new opportunities. Go to Indeed.com and sign up for free and create a resume and let Indeed do the rest to help you on your job search.
Hey, I'm Jesus Mauricio. Be sure to tune in every Friday to listen to Zeus Off the Bat, a baseball talk show from 1 to 2 p.m., where I'll be discussing and updating you on all things about baseball. News, predictions, reactions, and more about the Cubs, Sox, and everything across the league. Happens every Friday at 1 p.m. right here on SportsTownChicago.com. Don't forget to follow and share our Twitter and Instagram with your friends at Zeus Off the Bat. Zeus Off the Bat.
This is your home for sports.
This is the best fans in the world.
No better team. SportsTownChicago.com.
Are you ready for this? Valley View Automotive has all of the hottest SUVs you've been looking for. Enjoy a test drive and the opportunity to drive one of these powerful vehicles off the lot for half the price. Yes, half the price. Now's the time to get yourself to Valley View by car, on foot, or even buy air to take advantage of this outrageous sale. You better get here quickly, because this promotion is only going on for 24 hours, and the automobiles are leaving the lot faster than you can say four-wheel drive. Valley View Automotive, a dealership you can depend on.
Hey, I'm Andy Griggs, asking you to help prevent domestic violence. Domestic violence isn't a woman's issue. It hurts all of us. Women are injured and killed every day by their husbands and boyfriends. So it's time for men to take action right now to teach boys that violence against women is wrong, to help prevent abuse before it starts. Call the Family Violence Prevention Fund at 1-800-END-ABUSE to get a free Take Action kit containing tips on what to say to boys. That's 1-800-END-ABUSE. Teach early.
Indeed is the #1 job search user with over 250 million monthly users. Indeed's priority is to help everyone in the job searching process to find a job by uploading 10 new job opportunities every 10 seconds worldwide. With Indeed, you have free access to job searches, resume uploads, and company researches. There are over 10,000 employees at Indeed that pursue to help people find the job they are looking for. They connect with millions of people to new opportunities. Go to Indeed.com and sign up for free and create a resume and let Indeed do the rest to help you on your job search.
Hey, I'm Jesus Mauricio. Be sure to tune in every Friday to listen to Zeus Off the Bat, a baseball talk show from 1 to 2 p.m., where I'll be discussing and updating you on all things about baseball. News, predictions, reactions, and more about the Cubs, Sox, and everything across the league. Happens every Friday at 1 p.m. right here on SportsTownChicago.com. Don't forget to follow and share our Twitter and Instagram with your friends at Zeus Off the Bat. Zeus Off the Bat.
What's up, fight fans? We're back here on the Combat Connection and joined now by Sports Illustrated contributor, BJ Penn contributor, and former contributor at the Sporting News, Zan Bando. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing, man? Yeah, and it was a great card, and we certainly got we got a good card this weekend in the UFC Noche at the Sphere. Also, Canelo Alvarez will be taking on Berlanga this weekend in Las Vegas as well. So there's a lot of action out there for fight fans, whether you want to watch boxing or MMA this weekend, or maybe you're going to go to a bar and watch both. Zan, now, obviously, we're MMA guys here. We're very excited about UFC at the Sphere. Does the card get you more excited for this weekend, or is it the spectacle of this once-in-a-lifetime event at the Sphere?
Unique experience. So for those of you who don't know, this was all inspired because Dana White went to a U2 concert at some point last year with Tom Brady, and literally before the show was over, he called his head of production and he said, "Hey, I don't know what you're doing next weekend, but cancel whatever you're doing. I want to try to be the first major sporting event to host an event here." And I think that's the most unique part about it. The UFC is always looking for innovative ways to please the fans, and even though the ticket prices, may not be in the affordability range for the hardcore fan, I think it's the spectacle aspect that I think they want, the casual person that's out of town, that's maybe the tourist in Vegas, to want to come see this spectacle, because obviously you and I went to UFC St. Louis earlier this year. That was a typical UFC production. You and I have been to UFC events in the past, but it's not going to be anything remotely close to what this is going to be. So I think if you're watching this in person at the arena at MSG Sphere, or you're spending the money to watch the fight at home or going to a bar to see it, I think it's going to be very unique. And just to give you a few news and notes, this is according to a press release that I got from the UFC. It's going to be the first 1080p event to ever be broadcasted in the history of the UFC. It's going to be quadruple, the video screens themselves are going to be quadruple the size of what would be a regular IMAX movie theater screen. So that the immersiveness of it is going to be a big deal. And then they're going to have short films that will basically tell the story of the history of Mexican fighting and Mexican fighters during the main event. And then the story will shift to the actual fights going on in the cage. So I think I'm more excited for the theatrics part. I think Sean O'Malley headlining the show is a cherry on top. I think it makes the most sense from a business standpoint, just considering that Alex Pereira has been very active as of late, and obviously he's going to be fighting on the next pay-per-view, UFC 307, and of course with the recent news that was just dropped, according to a New York Post interview with Dana White, that Conor McGregor will be coming back in early 2025. So this was the hand the UFC was dealt, and even though some people are critical of the main event not featuring two Mexican fighters, I think 2 points that you have to look at here is Merab Dvalishvili, who's fighting Sean O'Malley in the main event this weekend, has a huge Mexican fan base, and you also have the co-main event, which features the Ultimate Fighter Season 32 coaches between Alexis Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko. So I think this card, even though it's not the most top-heavy card in terms of what the casual fan is used to, this is the kind of card where for die-hard fight consumers like the two of us and several other thousands of people, this is a very, very good card, and I think it has a chance to over-deliver on a fight that I think people will be very split. You'll either be in the boxing camp or the UFC camp. So that's kind of my thoughts overall on everything regarding that.
Yeah, when people asked me about this, I told them that I liked the card, especially the top three fights, but that I was, as you are, more interested in the theatrics of this. For people who have covered the history of the sport and look back to, when Japan dominated, it's really been since the Pride Fighting Championships that we've had someone put in like millions and millions of dollars into production to their events. And this has gotten up to close to $20 million. $16 million is what Dana said last time he was asked about it. It might even be more than that now. Who knows? But
I don't mean to stop you, but according to a recent interview he did with Bloomberg, it's now up to over 21 million.
Yeah,
so,
and that's not surprising because I heard that it was $2 million per rehearsal for these guys, to have the videos playing and the packages and what it takes to go into production for even a rehearsal. So that's not really surprising. I think that number may even grow here as the week goes. You think it gets up to about 2 million?
Yeah, and I mean, a few things that I want to add to that. Craig Borsari, the head of production, who I was just alluding to a second ago, actually debunked that and wouldn't give a literal number, but said the rehearsals were very expensive, but said that the $1 million number was not quite right. Mm-hmm. Would not be surprised, though, from a gate perspective, if it does hit the $25 million range. But to hear Dana say that this event is the most pre-bought event in UFC history, just given how many major fights have taken place in the city of Las Vegas, in the state of Nevada, to me is astonishing, considering that McGregor has headlined most of the major top 10 highest-selling pay-per-views ever. So to hear that leads me to believe that people are more excited as to what the presentation will look like other than anything else, because I think the fights will speak for themselves, but I think people are interested in everything around it. People are interested in, how the event, came together, how it came to be, what the post-event documentary is going to look like, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's the part that people are the most visually fascinated by is what the UFC is going to be able to, or what the UFC has done to be able to pull this off, number one, and number two, what people are going to say after the event in terms of this being, one of those events that people will remember. Because based on the information that I've received off of this event, based on an unreleased promo that should be dropping here in the next several days, I gotta say, whoever put this together, no matter how many people it took, they did a masterful job, and they have all the bells and whistles set. And Saturday night is going to be very, very interesting. You thought that you've seen some big UFC events so far. I think some of the stuff that I've seen so far that I don't think it's fully been released to the public yet is going to be very, very interesting. So
Wow. And that's certainly exciting news to hear coming from you. So that's something fight fans will want to look out for this Saturday. Obviously, we're excited about Sean O'Malley and Merab in the main event. We're going to play a little bit of a sound here previewing this event. So you guys, if you aren't as familiar with Merab and Sean, you can get a feel for this fight this weekend. And then when we get back, me and Zan are going to break down this entire UFC 306 card from the Sphere and give our predictions. Zan was just saying he went 7-3 in Bellator last week. That's pretty good. We'll see if we're on our predictions this week. I'll give you a little bit of betting analysis as well. But here's our UFC Noche preview.
In the UFC, man, the Sugar Show, believe it.
I felt like it was inevitable for me to be where I'm at right now. Look at my highlight reels that I've been putting on since my debut.
Oh, the Sugar Show! There is no one like Sean O'Malley.
He's got style. He's got charisma, determination, knockout power. He's the complete package.
If this kid can become champion, the whole sport will be turned on its head.
Sports Better's top 10 plays coming in at number 1. Sugar Sean O'Malley knocks out Aljamain.
O'Malley trying to close it out here. That'll do it. The Sugar Show on top of the world.
This is just the beginning of the Sugar era. I've proven a lot, but the end goal isn't to become champ. The end goal is to become the biggest combat sports athlete in history.
He is so driven to become the best to ever do it.
Sean is a good fighter, but for sure, I'm going to take his belt.
There are few points of comparison to the Georgian Merab Dvalishvili.
I want to fight Sean O'Malley since 2018. Sean O'Malley, keep smoking. I will keep training, and we'll see who's better. He never, ever want to fight me because skill-wise, I'm the hardest matchup for him.
This man's pressure and his gas tank are unprecedented. Oh, big shot! He is the epitome of volume. There is no one like him. You cannot discourage him.
Dvalishvili will not slow down. He will continue to just beat on you.
How many bantamweights are looking at this right now going, that is a nightmare? All of them. 10 in a row for Merab Dvalishvili.
This is your home for sports.
This is the best fans in the world.
No better team.
SportsTownChicago.com.
Are you ready for this? Valley View Automotive has all of the hottest SUVs you've been looking for. Enjoy a test drive and the opportunity to drive one of these powerful vehicles off the lot for half the price. Yes, half the price. Now's the time to get yourself to Valley View by car, on foot, or even by air to take advantage of this outrageous sale. You better get here quickly, because this promotion is only going on for 24 hours, and the automobiles are leaving the lot faster than you can say four-wheel drive. Valley View Automotive, a dealership you can depend on.
Hey, I'm Andy Griggs, asking you to help prevent domestic violence. Domestic violence isn't a woman's issue. It hurts all of us. Women are injured and killed every day by their husbands and boyfriends. So it's time for men to take action right now to teach boys that violence against women is wrong, to help prevent abuse before it starts. Call the Family Violence Prevention Fund at 1-800-END-ABUSE to get a free Take Action kit containing tips on what to say to boys. That's 1-800-END-ABUSE. Teach early.
Indeed is the #1 job search user with over 250 million monthly users. Indeed's priority is to help everyone in the job searching process to find a job by uploading 10 new job opportunities every 10 seconds worldwide. With Indeed, you have free access to job searches, resume uploads, and company researches. There are over 10,000 employees at Indeed that pursue to help people find the job they are looking for. They connect with millions of people to new opportunities. Go to Indeed.com and sign up for free and create a resume and let Indeed do the rest to help you on your job search.
Hey, I'm Jesus Mauricio. Be sure to tune in every Friday to listen to Zeus Off the Bat, a baseball talk show from 1 to 2 p.m. where I'll be discussing and updating you on all things about baseball. News, predictions, reactions, and more about the Cubs, Sox, and everything across the league. Happens every Friday at 1 p.m. right here on SportsTownChicago.com. Don't forget to follow and share our Twitter and Instagram with your friends at Zeus Off the Bat. Zeus Off the Bat.
All right, fight fans, it's time to break down this UFC 306 card from the Sphere. And what better person to do it than Zan Bando of Sports Illustrated, Knockout, and bjpenn.com. Zan, are you still there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again and for having me on today, and I'm excited to dive a little bit more into the fight aspects of UFC 306 because as much as the theatrics are great, I think what people are forgetting is there's a star-studded main event at the top, and the co-main event also has its own unique storyline too, given that there's a reality show aspect on top of that as well. So,
yeah, you're certainly right. And since you're the guest here, do you want to start at the top of the card, or do you want to start with the early prelims?
It's your show, so whatever direction you want to take it, I just want to follow your lead.
We'll take care of the early prelims and preliminary card first. There's only a couple fights I really want to touch on, but Raul Rosas Jr. is going to be fighting Arichi Lang here. Arichi Lang is a very tough competitor coming in at 25-11. Raul Rosas Jr., everybody's been really, got strong opinions of him. We think he's a highly touted prospect. He showed his power in his hands against Terrence Mitchell, but he did lose to Christian Rodriguez, in a fight that, he wasn't able to get it to the ground and kind of got, for that time, picked apart on the feet by Rodriguez. Now, Rodriguez has struggled to make 135 pounds and has since struggled as well at 145 in his fights, but Raul Rosas Jr. is taking on a true veteran of the sport here in Arichi Lang. Do you think the experience of Arichi Lang is going to play a factor on Raul this weekend?
No, I don't think so. I think this is the biggest fight of Raul Rosas Jr.'s career, and I think his confidence cannot be any higher than he's a prospect that I've been high on since day one. I don't think the UFC pushed him too hard. I think the Christian Rodriguez fight definitely showed a couple holes, but this is great. It's a showcase fight, fighting in front of his people on Fight Pass, exclusively the only fight on the UFC Fight Pass prelims. So it just goes to show how much the UFC not only wants to push Raul Rosas Jr., but the service itself. And this is, in my opinion, the perfect fight to open the card because Raul Rosas Jr. is a hardcore fan audience. Everybody that he knows him from Dana White's Contender Series a couple years ago. Newer fans that might be tuning in may not know his story as he's one of the youngest fighters in the UFC, if not the youngest fighter in the UFC currently. So I think it's a big step up in competition. This could end up being a slugfest, or this could end up being an early Raul Rosas Jr. finish. But either way, I think that Raul Rosas Jr. Fights like he's capable of and wins in very impressive fashion. So.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think this could be an all-action fight. Arichi Lang is known for putting on, very entertaining fan-friendly fights. So I think that you need to tune in early, fight fans, for this UFC 306 early prelim between Raul Rosas Jr. And Arichi Lang. Moving up the card here, we have Joshua Van kind of returning very fast after the knockout loss to Charles Johnson. He fills in for Kevin Borjas on short notice against Edgar Chairez. Chairez is somebody who has 7 submission wins, 4 knockout victories. He's really a finisher here. And Joshua Van is coming back maybe too soon. Do you think that Joshua, shouldn't have put himself in this situation on such short notice against a guy who's as dangerous as Chairez?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, personally, I don't think so. I think this is too quick of a turnaround. But it just goes to show that even though he lost his last fight, Joshua Van wants to stay active. And I think that's the most important thing, especially when you're fighting a young rising star, Edgar Chairez, who pretty much all the major experts that I've seen are picking him to win. I'm also picking him to win. But just to see Van take the opportunity on such a big stage and a step up in competition on a very short notice, you have to give the kid all the credit in the world, even if he loses the fight, just considering that most fighters in the situation maybe would have not been ready just simply because they couldn't cut the weight in time or whatever the case may be. So it should be an interesting fight. Will Chairez probably win? Yeah. But would I love to see Joshua Van give his best effort to show that he's still a guy UFC can rely on, especially in a flyweight division that's kind of still struggling, in my opinion, to find contenders. So I expect a lot of big expectations out of that fight as well. So,
yeah, I like that fight a lot. Joshua Van is, a very good grappler, has good defensive takedown, good takedown defense. So we'll see if he is able to stop the submission game of Chairez, and then maybe, get his game going on the feet. But, we have a guy in Ignacio Bahamondes here from the city of Chicago, trains with Bilal Muhammad. He's going to be taking on a really tough competitor in Manel Torres on this Mexican card at the Sphere. Manel Torres has won 6 fights in a row and has not lost since 2019. He's got 7 wins by knockout, 7 wins by submission. He has lost twice by submission, but Bahamondes is not really known as a grappler, a very lengthy kickboxer who uses his 6'3" frame very well for this division. Do you think that the length of Bahamondes is going to give problems to Manel Torres?
Potentially. I think the earlier the fight goes, the more it favors Bahamondes, but the longer the fight goes, I think that Torres' gas tank is a little bit better. But I like to see Bahamondes win because of the Midwest ties. The answer, of course, is yes, but I don't know. I think it's kind of too big of a step up in competition at this point in his career, and it's obviously a major opportunity fighting on the UFC Noche card instead of just a typical fight night at the Apex. So unless the fight ends in the first or early second round, he'll probably end up losing by decision or submission, but it'll be an interesting fight.
Yeah, I think so too. I think for Bahamondes, he really has to keep him, at range. We saw in the John McDessie fight, McDessie also a very good kickboxer, especially at that time in 2021. He was able to get inside on Bahamondes and land clean shots with his boxing. And that's kind of the game plan for Torres. He's a very aggressive striker and has heavy hands. So it's going to be a very interesting fight. I'm kind of worried for Bahamondes, but obviously, as you said, we're pulling for the Midwest native here in Ignacio Bahamondes. So also on this prelim card, we have a women's fight between Norman Dumont and Irina Aldana. That's between the number 2 and number 9 ranked women in the world. But we're going to move along to the main card here. And I've got to get your honest opinion, Zan. This first fight, Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Ode Osborne, a lot of people, including content creators online like MMA Guru, have really complained about this first fight. I think Ronaldo Rodriguez is a very interesting prospect. I think Ode Osborne is somebody who has been a litmus test in this division. If you're good enough to beat Ode, you might be on the cusp of contention. But if not, you've got some things you've got to work on and improve. I don't mind this fight too much, but what do you think of this fight and the other fight starting off this main card?
Well, yeah, I'm going to have to say that the Zellhuber-Ribovic fight is a better fight on paper than the first fight of the night. If I was the matchmaker in this situation, I think we flip those 2 fights. It's either here or there. To me, this feels like a setup fight for Rodriguez. So Osborne is going to be ready for some flashy stuff because if he doesn't, I don't think the fight will last very long. So, and I never like to accuse fights being setup fights, but this has all the makings of, to me, seeing a clear favorite easily win, which is something that you don't really like to have happen on main cards. You usually try to get evenly matched fights, but to me, that first fight screams that the betting markets are begging you to take Rodriguez over Osborne in that scenario. So.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing as you. Rodriguez, in his last 4 losses, all of them have came by finish. Manel Kopp by flying knee, Tyson Nam by right hook, and then he lost by rear naked choke in his last 2 fights to Amabayev and Filo. So I really think Rodriguez, if he's able to come and get a win in this weekend, I hate to say it, but it might be the end of the road for Ode Osborne in the UFC. But Ronaldo Rodriguez is somebody to keep an eye out on, and certainly a Mexican prospect that Latin fight fans can get behind going forward, especially at this weight class that is really wide open. So we're gonna move along to that fight we were talking about between Ribovic and Daniel Zellhuber. I really love this fight. We were at Esteban Ribovic's last fight against Terrence McKinney, where he, head kicked him, to another dimension. That was an insane knockout and one of the best knockouts I've seen yet this year. But kind of like the fight we were talking about with Torres and Bahamondes, he's going to have to get inside the technical, lengthy kickboxer in Daniel Zellhuber, who has been very impressive in his run in the UFC. We've got an aggressive striker in Ribovic who's very creative and dangerous, and we've got a technical kickboxer in Zellhuber. Who do you favor this weekend, Zan?
Yeah, I think this is a coin flip fight, but I think Ivovic's momentum keeps rolling. I mean, you just mentioned that we were at that fight a couple of months ago, and he looked shockingly unbelievable. And I think that this is the fight that's going to get the spirit really fired up. I see these two just taking the center of the octagon and just start banging away. It's going to be a firefight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this could easily be the fight of the night. Now, I know that we've got great, Diego Lopez and Brian Ortega. We'll get to it in a minute. But I think these are two strikers. And if you look at the records, one of them has a loss to Trey Ogden and one of them has a loss to Loic Radzhabov, which means one thing to me. They struggle against grapplers. That's not what they're going to have to do this weekend. This is two strikers going in there trying to get the finish. Like I said, we've got length and technicality on the side of Daniel Zellhuber. Also has a little bit of a ground game as well with 5 submission victories using that length. I mean, Zellhuber, 5 foot, or no, this is Ribovic's. Ribovic's is 5'10". Zellhuber is 6'1". He's going to have 4 inches in reach on him. So, I really like this fight. I think it could be fight of the night. And I think it's going to be a war.
Yeah, I agree, man.
So moving forward here, we do have Diego Lopez and Brian Ortega. This is a fight that was scheduled for midsummer on that Chandler versus Conor McGregor card. Ortega didn't look like he could make weight due to illness during fight week, had to pull out. Dan Ige came in on short notice. Diego Lopez had to go up not 1 weight class, but almost 2 to fight Dan Ige at 160 pounds. Lopez showing he's game at all times, obviously, but he's taking on a perennial contender here in Brian Ortega, who's fought in massive events before. Diego Lopez, this is going to be the biggest event. We're talking about one of the biggest events in UFC history. He's going to be under the bright lights that he has never been under before against a guy who has been there and has done that against the best in Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Brian Ortega is an underdog in this one, -160 for Diego Lopez online sports books. I personally favor Lopez in this one. I think that if Ortega can't get the fight to the ground, he's going to have problems on the feet with Diego Lopez. I think Lopez is very athletic, very fast. He showed that in his knockout win over Sadiq Youssef at UFC 300. But Brian Ortega is as tough as they come. He has one of the best chins in UFC history. We saw that in the fight with Yair Rodriguez and the fight with Alexander Volkanovski. He and Max Holloway. He has an ability to take punishment that a lot of other people don't. How do you see this fight going? This is the most compelling fight to me and the hardest one to pick on the card.
Yeah, I would say so too. I just think, simply put, Brian Ortega, in my opinion, I don't know this for a fact, but to me, coming off of a really bad weight cut a couple months ago, I feel like this is too quick of a turnaround in the UFC trying to put Diego Lopez, or push Diego Lopez rather. So to me, this safe pick is to take Diego Lopez by decision or a weight finish.
Yeah, I like that as well. I think that if Ortega can't get this fight to the ground, we might see a finish in the first 2 rounds. Lopez just has heavy hands, very creative, very aggressive. And in his fight versus Sadiq Youssef, he really was like, all right, I'm coming at you with what I've got. Let's see what you have for me. And Youssef couldn't keep him off him. I fear that Ortega, is not going to be able to keep Diego Lopez at distance. He's going to get inside and maybe land some big hooks like he did against Sadiq Youssef. But if Ortega can get the fight to the ground, I think that something that a lot of people aren't looking at is the weight cut. He is going to come in there and be the bigger man on fight night. If he can somehow make weight, he could come in there with a 5 to 10 pound weight advantage, and would be very hard for Lopez to get out from underneath him if Ortega was able to get top control as the bigger fighter on Saturday. So I really think this one relies on Ortega's ability to get the takedown. Now, Diego Lopez is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt as well. We saw versus Mosfar Avoyev that he can throw up crazy submissions off his back. But this is going to be an absolute wild fight, in my opinion. But moving along here, we won't keep you all day, but we got 2 fights left. The most important 2 fights on the card, the championship fights. UFC flyweight women's champion Alex Grasso defending the belt against former champion Valentina Shevchenko. Defeated her the first time, and then obviously in the second fight it went to a draw. Zan, you had put out content pieces for the entire UFC Ultimate Fighter season between Grasso and Shevchenko. Did you learn anything watching that season about these two women and their rivalry?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more so less of a rivalry, and I think it's more so just two women who genuinely respect each other. It was one of the better Ultimate Fighter seasons I've seen, just simply in terms of the cast. I mean, the cast on both teams were fantastic. Both women, obviously, in Grasso and Shevchenko, had very unique training methods, and I think that that's something that, people don't realize, is that both of those women worked so hard on their own preparation, but they also did a great job of making sure that their teams were well prepared every single week for their respective fights. And I think there's no love lost, and there's more of a mutual respect there, but there's also that bit of a competitive fire that, there's still unfinished business from fight 2 to now fight 3. And I think that's the most interesting part. And even though Grasso is ranked as the number 1 woman in the world, I personally feel like that their resumes side by side, you just can't compare. Valentina is the more dominant champion. I think she's fought better competition over the last 5-6 years. And I think that Valentina has a bad taste in her mouth, thinking that she had won fight 2, which is how I initially scored it. I scored the fight for Valentina 3-2. I can understand why people scored it a draw as well, but I just think overall, to me, even though Grasso won fight 1 and it was in dramatic fashion, I don't think she has the same resume that Valentina does, and I think Valentina finds a way to get her belt back by either a 4th round TKO or by split decision. I feel like this has mirror images of when Nunes fought Pena in their rematch, and Nunes was able to win that one. So I really like Valentina in the spot. I understand that there's the Noche UFC aspect to it, and Alexa Grasso might win the fight, but I just think overall, stylistically, I think that Valentina is better everywhere.
So you're taking the bullet this weekend and the experience from the former champion. I like it. Now, were you surprised that she was a betting underdog in this one?
Yeah, I think that people somewhat forget how dominant Valentina's run was when she was flyweight champion, and I don't think that that's being factored into the betting lines as much as it probably should be. Yeah,
I agree. I was really shocked when I looked this morning at these betting lines and saw that Valentina was at plus 115 as opposed to minus 130 for Alexa Grasso. So Shevchenko there, me and Zan both like Valentina this weekend. But obviously we have to say Valentina was a great champion. She is getting older. Alexa Grasso is, the younger fighter. Her boxing is tremendous. One of the best female boxers in the entire UFC, 31 years old, in her prime. So this is going to be a great fight. These have been highly competitive fights the last 2 times. So it's not like this is going to be a snooze fest. I think this is really going to be a highly competitive matchup once again, and probably goes to a decision. And don't be surprised if it's controversial.
Yeah, and just to add one more thing, this is no disrespect to Alexa Grasso, but if you look at both fights, holistically, and if you watch them in full, even without commentary, there are several instances in both of those fights where Valentina was on the verge of finishing hers. Mm-hmm. So it's not like Valentina can't go in there and easily win, because she's proven she's proven that she can. I just think that she got a little bit unlucky in the first two fights. So
yeah, I mean, definitely. When you look at the first fight, she did that spinning back kick, and Grasso was able to take her back and submit her. That was great by Grasso. You can't take anything away from Alexa Grasso, but that was a mistake made by Valentina Shevchenko, in my opinion. I'm sure you feel the same way. It kind of reminded me, of Chris Weidman going for the spinning back fist against Luke Rockhold, or Chael going for the spinning back fist against Anderson Silva. When you do those spinning techniques and go for the high reward, there's also high risk, and a lot of times you give up a vulnerable position, which is kind of what we saw in that first fight. Now, the second fight, it was highly competitive, a draw. So we're going to see this weekend, and we're both expecting a very good fight, and certainly one that will entertain fight fans. Now, moving on to the main event, this is what everybody wants to talk about. Striker versus grappler, the gas tank of Merab Dvalishvili, one of the best grapplers in the UFC, just ragdolled Henry Cejudo and carried him around the cage. Before that, attempted 52 takedown attempts in one fight against Peter Yan. This guy's cardio and gas take is something that we've never seen watching this sport, Zan, but he's fighting a guy in Sean O'Malley, who a lot of people draw comparisons to Conor McGregor. This guy is a sniper, 5'11", at 135 pounds here. So, he is very athletic, very dangerous. He just knocked out Aljamain Sterling, Merab Dvalishvili's main sparring partner. Merab is a Sarah Longo fighter there in Long Island, New York as well. What do you make of this fight? How do you break it down? Is it as simple as saying just striker versus grappler? There's a lot of ways to look at this one.
Yeah, a lot of ways to look at this one for sure. And, I did a piece for MMA Knockout the other day, and it was off of a TMZ article. And, I think Sean O'Malley made a great point. He goes, I don't really know what advice Aljamain Sterling could really give to Merab to win that fight because, I was in there with him directly, and I knocked him out. And I just simply don't think that Sterling was all that impressive. So Sean O'Malley saying that about Sterling and Merab, I feel like Sean O'Malley's going to come out with some stuff that maybe you've never seen before. And as long as he can stop the first takedown, I think that O'Malley actually knocks out Merab we're inside the first 15 minutes. I really do. I'm not saying that Merab is overrated by any means. He's on a 10-fight win streak. And he beat some of the best in the division, but I don't think Merab has fought anybody with the striking caliber of O'Malley. And if O'Malley can catch him with anything, I think the fight will be over relatively quickly.
Yeah, I think the first round is really when we're going to see almost immediately how this fight's going to take place. Merab, we all know, is going to come shooting across the cage with reckless abandon, trying to take O'Malley down. It's whether he can get inside the length and get to the hips and find a home for the takedown early, because if he can't, the longer he's on the feet, the time the clock is ticking, and it's almost like he's playing with fire a little bit, standing with Sean O'Malley. So Merab Dvalishvili has to get this one to the ground. But as I mentioned, he shot 52 takedown attempts before. He's ragdolled Olympic gold medalists. Some people think that he's going to be able to go in there and grab a hold of the legs of the longer O'Malley. Some people think that the length might actually play to a disadvantage as O'Malley. Like, obviously the length would be a good, good for him on the feet. But in terms of grappling, there's more to grab. There's more to get a hold of, especially for trips. Now, we're going to, as you said, I think we're going to see here in the first 5 minutes how this fight's going to take place. If Merab can't get him down early, I think that he's going to have serious problems as this fight goes on.
100%, man.
Now, are you officially taking O'Malley by knockout? I know you said you don't think Merab's going to be able to get in there as easy as he has been with these other guys. I look at this one, I see Peter Yan and O'Malley went to a split decision. That was a highly competitive fight. Some people thought, including Khabib Nurmagomedov, that Peter Yan won that fight. Merab went in there, and that was not even competitive, not even close. We know styles make fights here. Is that a matchup that people should really look into, or do you think that's just a stylistic matchup that favored Merab?
I think that was a stylistic matchup that favored Merab, and I think to answer your initial question, yeah, my official pick is O'Malley by second round KO TKO. Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm looking at the Peter Yan fight, I really respect how good he is, and his takedown defense before the Merab fight was highly thought of, which is why that was such a contentious matchup going in. We were going to see whether Merab was able to get his takedowns defended. Not only did he run through Peter Yan, he ran through the next guy who was an Olympic gold medalist in Henry Cejudo too. So, honestly, I think I might have to take Merab Dvalishvili in this one by decision. I think that's honestly the only way he finishes the fight. He's not a guy who's known for submissions on the ground or ground and pound. Not the most damaging fighter, but in terms of control, he is one of the best fighters I've seen with his grappling control and his relentless pressure and takedown attempts. But he's going to have to do it for 25 whole minutes. He's done it in the past. He's shown that his cardio has been there. One thing that I want to get your opinion before we let you go. I got one last thing for you. we saw online on Instagram a lot of pictures have been going around posted by Merab. He had the cut. He took care of it himself with scissors. We saw Dana White's reaction to that. And then we had a staph infection photo just come out over the last week that it looks like he might have staph, which can obviously sap someone's cardio. What do you make of the pre-fight? I don't want to call it build-up, but what do you make of the pre-fight antics of Merab, what he's been putting out on social media, and is any of that concerning you coming into this?
Oh, I mean, I think it should concern anyone and everyone. I mean, to expose potential injuries or public, just to me is stupid, and it makes it much easier for the other fighter. And if O'Malley can exploit those things, that's why I feel comfortable taking him, just because the secret's already out. So I think it was a big mistake by Merab in that regard. Obviously now we know that stuff is true, but if he would have kept that under wraps and he would have just dealt with it himself without making it public, I feel like I would have a different opinion. But now that he has made it public, I think it's bad from multiple perspectives. So it leaves me even more hesitant to take him, considering that those things are publicly available online. So
certainly, and if you're a bettor out there listening to this segment, take that into account before putting your money on Merab Dvalishvili this weekend. You can get Sean O'Malley at a slight as a slight favorite, minus 135 online if you are in the same opinion as Zan. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Zan. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Hopefully we'll have you on again here moving forward to break down fights. I always appreciate your time and you coming on.
Thank you. You guys can catch my weekly UFC picks every Saturday. They're posted on my Instagram story. Again, you can follow me across social media at ZanBando99, ZAINBANDO99. Always very transparent when it comes to my UFC predictions. Going into UFC 306 this weekend, again, my record sits at 202 wins, 163 losses, and 4 draws / no contest. And for anyone who is looking to watch or consume Dana White Contender Series that's coming up in a couple hours later tonight. The record for that show, which is entering a new week this week. We're about into the halfway point of the season. My record there is 13-7. So stay tuned for my entire card in up Saturday, where you'll get all my UFC 306 picks. But until then, thank you again, Brett, for having me on. It's always a pleasure. And again, you want to in my picks and all of my work and so much more, you can follow me across social media at ZanBando99.
Follow him on Instagram, Twitter at ZanBando99. The pleasure is always ours, Zan. Thank you for joining us. That has been Zan Bando, formerly of the Sporting News, currently at BJPenn.com and Sports Illustrated's Knockout Division. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have Zan on again in the future. But let's get to Brett's bets real quick. I'm going to give you my parlay for this weekend before the show closes. We're in the final 2 minutes. Quickly, I've got Merab Dvalishvili money line in this one. If you're going to give me Merab after he just took out Henry Cejudo the way he did, that was so impressive to me. He took the best grappler that we've seen in the UFC's history, picked him up over his shoulder like Matt Hughes did Frank Trigg back in the day, and walked him around. I mean, that was absolutely incredible. I'm taking Merab in this one. I got burnt bad on the Leon Edwards, taking Leon Edwards over Bilal Muhammad. Muhammad had the better grappling. We knew that coming in. I went against him. We're going for Merab this weekend. Next, we're going Alexa Grasso, the favorite, money line. Then we're going Diego Lopez money line. That's minus 130 Alexa Grasso, plus 116 Merab Dvalishvili, minus 180 Diego Lopez. That's our parlay for this week. Tune back in next week, fight fans. We'll break down UFC 306 from the Sphere. We'll bring you some good content and any breaking news we have, and then also break down the PFL, Bellator, and UFC fight cards on the horizon. Thanks for joining us.
This is your home for sports.
It's the best fans in the world.
No better team. SportsTownChicago.com.
Are you ready for this? Valley View Automotive has all of the hottest SUVs you've been looking for. Enjoy a test drive and the opportunity to drive one of these powerful vehicles off the lot for half the price. Yes, half the price. Now's the time to get yourself to Valley View by car, on foot, or even by air to take